Hello and welcome to my channel. So I am doing a 6-part series in which I'm going to be testing a bunch of water-based art supplies on different papers and finding out which ones work. Now this is going to include tone paper as well as different watercolor papers and mixed media. So I'm really excited to do this series. And these are just a few of the things that are going to be covered in this series. Part 3 is the Derwent Inktense palettes. So with these, it's going to be a little bit different than just normal watercolors, but I thought it would be really good to see, especially on the different papers, how these show up. The papers I'm going to be testing are the black mixed media Strathmore paper, the tone gray mixed media paper, also from Strathmore. The last Strathmore one is the toned blue mixed media paper. I have Canson mixed media paper in white. For watercolor paper, there is the Faber-Castell Studio Watercolor Hot Press paper. Then for cold press, I'm going to be using the Winsor & Newton cold press paper. So how I have this set up is I'm going to try very similar things on the 3-tone papers and see how they work. Just see what the opacity is, how bright the colors are, and then on the different white papers, I'm going to be trying the blending of 2 of them together and how they interact with each other and when the paper is wet. So I'm going to tape these down to a clipboard and let's get started on the testing. For the Derwent Inktense, I have both sets 1 and 2 here, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is that set 2 is only one with a white, and they call it antique white. And just like before, I am trying to see how the white shows up, and yeah, it's going to be a very interesting how it goes down for everything. Just seeing what it ends up looking like then. Starting and then going farther away. Okay. I'm going to just put a little bit of extra white here. There, that looks a little more. So it might be that these are going to show up really well, so I'm going to get some other colors going as well. Well, I will say I am mildly disappointed in this because I thought it was going to do a lot better on the black than it is. Excuse me. So I'm mildly disappointed on that. Now we're going to try the darker colors, and there are a wide variety for me to choose from. So I'm really liking the Inktense on the tone papers. I think if you're very limited in using it for certain effects, the black could be really good for things. Other than that, I think I would definitely stay towards the toned ones. Now let's see how 2 colors are going to blend into each other. This will definitely be interesting to see. I don't think I've personally done this with the Inktense yet, so not entirely sure how this is going to go. I must say that worked beautifully. I cannot believe how well all of that blended. It was fantastic. Honestly, I think that worked better than, again, I predicted. Maybe it's because I'm more used to doing a gradient that way, but honestly, it worked beautiful. Now the next thing, just like with part 1 and 2, there is a watercolor technique in which you layer over crayon that I wanted to try, and I happen to have both crayon and colored pencil to try this. And let's see how that goes. Okay, for that one, definitely thinking it is more related to the texture of the paper. So again, the cold press, very textured wins. Now I'm going to do a wet on wet, which these are going to probably disperse like they normally would, like watercolors. The thing is, any description of this, they are described like not watercolors. Huh, that's interesting. I don't know if maybe I didn't get as much water on the cold press, but it was not spreading as much until I added a little more water, and it's still not spreading as much. So it seems like for at least the Inktense, the hot press is going to be best for that. And now I'm going to do a blend. So I'm going to be putting one at the top and trying to go all the way across the page. So I've noticed this anytime I have used the hot press paper with the Inktense specifically, is that it dries and sticks very quickly. So of course I speed it up in between, but honestly I did not go that slow and I had issues, so yeah, that's a little bit not good. And now, oops, I forgot I actually had black. I was going to use paint scrape, but I'm going to be using the black. I'm going to load up right at the top, and I'm going to add a little water and go down. Now, I just added a little water at the top. Now these I know for a fact are very pigmented. So yeah, they're staying pigmented all the way down. It's just a factor on how much my trying to be little squirt ends up being. So again, I think this one is a little bit just the supply. It's going to be like that, a little bit different. Okay, as for blending 3 colors on the paper, I'm going to do a similar color, but I'm going to do the order a little different. While I was doing that, I sort of took a look over, and these are showing up brighter than they looked earlier. So definitely, I think you can use them on the black. You just have to bear in mind they're going to be a little bit brighter when they dry. So that's a very fun discovery. Now with this little extra red blotches, there is a way to make a new color in which after it's dry you just layer on one. And so I try to wait, it's at least dry to touch. So I'm just trying to do a quick layer, trying not to reactivate it. And that is basically what I'm doing for those. So yeah, I think I'm gonna say for the mixing straight on there, I think they worked very similarly, all the same. And then as for the layering, I think they're very similar. I would still suggest maybe going to the watercolor papers first versus the mixed media, because mixed media is not going to take as much water, and unlike our other supplies so far, this is going to be the most water intense. I'm just thinking of the joke of saying Inktense instead of intense. But anyway, they're going to be the most intense with the water, but you can get some very bright results. So definitely the Derwent Inktense, I would say, depending on the effect, could do the black paper, gray and blue, very nice. And then just because of how much water you're going to want, if you're doing mixed media and you want to try the mixed media paper, go for it. In all honesty, it will work. There's going to be, again, some faster drying on the hot press. Cold press is a little less quick. I think hot press dries the fastest. The mixed media dries the slowest. So if that's going to be a factor, take that into consideration. All right, so I will see you in the next part. Bye.